how to improve your single leg deadlift.
With your legs, not your back. Are you lifting?
So depending on what hand you put the bell in is going to determine whether that makes it harder or easier. So if you're planted foot and you're holding the bell to the inside of the planted leg, meaning, so if my left leg is planted, the bell would be in my right hand, which is the same leg that goes back, that is going to pull me out of balance. That's going to be the harder variety. To make it a little bit easier, you could step to the outside of the bell and keep the bell in the same hand as the planted leg. So my left foot is planted, and from there I'll keep it in my left hand. So coming down to pick up the bell from here, the bell is pulling me into balance, and it's going to be significantly easier. So if the bell, my left foot is planted and my right leg goes back, this is going to, the bell, now the weight is pulling me out of balance. It's going to be a little bit harder. And so you're going to have to make sure that your balance is a little better. And so one of the things that you can do to improve that is point your right hip at your planted foot, or point the opposite hip at the planted foot. So as I go back, I'm going to make sure that my right hip stays pointed at that foot, so that as I come up, I stay balanced and then come all the way back down under control. Otherwise, you're going to open up like a figure skater. And unless you're trying to qualify for the Olympics, there's really no reason to do that. Keep that hip pointed at, your opposite hip should stay pointed at your planted foot. And again, if you're having trouble with these, struggling from a balance perspective, when you come back down, if the bell's coming out in front of your foot, it simply means that you're not hinging your hips enough. When you put it back on the floor, it should be beside your foot, regardless of whether you're to the inside of the bell or to the outside of the bell. So even if you're on the outside of the bell and you're coming back, your hips are going back enough. So you still have a deadlift or a hinge, which is here. Make sure you're pushing your hips back all the way down. It should be beside you. And as you come up, if that bell's coming way out here, you're simply leaning forward and you're putting undue strain on your lower back. Make sure that when you put it back on the floor, regardless of whether it's inside or outside your planted foot, it should be to the side. So from here, you'll hinge back, take the bell from the floor, all the way back up, and returning it all the way to the ground, but it should be beside that planted foot. You've got two different variations on that. So whether you're to the inside or the outside of the bell is going to change how hard it is. And you also want to make sure that your opposite hip is pointed at your planted foot when you hinge, so that you're staying neutral and you're not opening up, further pulling you out of balance.
I need balance.
So from here, I'm not drinking. So from here, maybe a little.